Hi, my name is Jordan Wright, and I am pursuing a bachelor's degree in community and environmental planning at the University of New Hampshire.
And my name is Safaa Bilal, and I'm completing a PhD in education at the University of New Hampshire.
This summer, Safa and I worked together on enhancing climate education through professional development with the Climate Initiative, or TCI. TCI aims to empower youth for climate action. Aside from direct to youth programming, TCI also reaches youth through educators. Many educators, however, feel underprepared to teach about climate. Safa and I spent the summer building a professional development course to change that. Before we dive into our project, we want to take a moment to thank Michelle Waring from Toms of Maine for sponsoring our fellowship this summer. None of what we are about to discuss would have been possible without the gracious support of Michelle and her team at Toms of Maine.
So these are the numbers that actually shaped our entire summer. In a national poll by IPSOS, 86% of teachers said climate change should be taught in school, but 55% said they don't teach it at all. And when they were asked why, the most common answer from about two-thirds of them wasn't skepticism or lack of interest. It was actually, it's not my subject. The obvious conclusion would be that teachers need training in how to teach climate, but the more we talked with educators throughout the process, the more we found that wasn't it at all. The real question we kept coming back to was how do we support teachers in bringing climate into their classroom without adding it to already an overwhelming workload? Because teachers already carry a lot and climate can feel like one more thing. So rather than creating more pressure, we focused on how climate learning could fit naturally into what teachers are already doing. So building their confidence with practical strategies they can apply right away. The gap wasn't about how to teach, it was more about confidence and helping teachers see what climate already connects to what they already teach. And that completely changed what we built.
Over the summer, Safa and I created a free 1 hour asynchronous professional development course titled Start Where You Are Climate Education for Educators. Designed primarily for middle and high school teachers, it's interactive and short enough to complete during a planning period. Because climate change is such a complex topic, one of our biggest challenges was deciding what to include in just 1 hour. We ultimately split the course evenly between climate content and classroom application. But after early educator feedback, we realized that understanding climate change wasn't enough. Teachers also needed to see exactly how it fit into the curriculum they already teach. That feedback led us to create teacher tips, which are shown here. Every climate content slide in the first half of the course includes a pop up window with a ready to use lesson idea, helpful resources, and a connection to nationally recognized teaching standards. Public school teachers are required to teach to state learning standards, so these examples show how climate topics naturally reinforce skills they're already expected to teach. Rather than asking educators to add something new to their plate, we're showing them where climate education already fits. Even for educators who don't have to teach to these standards, like someone teaching at a private school, the lesson ideas and skill connections remain valuable. Just as importantly, the course emphasizes that teachers don't have to be climate experts. Building confidence isn't about having every answer, it's about giving educators permission to learn alongside their students. The teacher tips in the climate content section of the course made individual climate lessons easier to teach. The second half of the course zooms out and asks a bigger question: what makes climate education effective in the first place? Again, educator feedback led us to rethink our original design. Our first draft focused on teaching theory, but teachers left with ideas rather than practical strategies. We restructured the second half around a simple three-pillar framework. Climate education should be pervasive, localized, and hopeful. The first pillar, pervasive, means climate belongs in every subject, not just science. TCI's three lenses framework invites educators to explore climate topics through ecological, economic, and sociocultural lenses. The maple sugaring example here shows how one local issue affects ecosystems, livelihoods, and cultural traditions all at once. The second pillar, localized, recognizes that climate feels more relevant when it begins with places students already know. We share place based learning strategies and classroom examples from across the country to help teachers connect global issues to their local communities. And the third pillar, hopeful, acknowledges that climate conversations often bring difficult emotions. Rather than avoiding those feelings, we help educators channel them into action by connecting students with meaningful climate projects. Ultimately, when climate education is pervasive, localized, and hopeful, it becomes more than learning about climate change. These lessons help students prepare to participate in shaping their communities.
So, what's the impact of this work? We want to be upfront because the course hasn't actually been formally implemented just yet. So, we can't speak to the measured outcomes right now. What we can offer is the thinking behind how we built it and why we built it. So, the Climate Initiative's goal is to reach 1 million young people. And you don't get there by talking to a million students directly. You get there by reaching the educators who are already in front of them. So 1 hour of professional development reaches one educator, and that educator reaches every student they'll teach every year across their entire career. In other words, 1 hour empowers an educator, and that educator empowers generations of students. As for what we have already done, we shared drafts with educators throughout the summer and recently piloted the course with K through 12 educators at TCI's retreat at the end of July. The early feedback was encouraging, and participants saw real potential in it, especially for teachers just beginning to bring climate into their classrooms. Looking ahead, the course will launch on TCI's Educator Hub once the communication and development teams have shaped how it's marketed and how participation is tracked. And this fall, we'll extend the work through Jordan's capstone research, which looks at how prepared pre-service educators feel to teach climate and the role a course like this can play in building their confidence before they enter the actual classroom. Ultimately, that's the goal, not just informed educators, but confident ones ready to bring climate into whatever they teach.
Working with TCI this summer grew my respect for educators tenfold, especially as I deepened my understanding of the inequalities within and decentralization of the US education system. Further, I'm immensely grateful for the opportunity to have grown my evidence and hope-based climate vocabulary with TCI. I see this positive, clear communication of climate change as an increasingly important skill as fear is amplified by mass media.
And what stayed with me this summer was mostly how much this project taught me about designing, what it is designing for real people. Every time we assumed what educators needed, they surprised us, and the course only got better each time we stopped guessing and actually listened to them. Learning to build something with an audience rather than for them is a lesson I'll take into everything I do next. I'm deeply grateful to have spent the summer doing work that genuinely matters. And before we wrap up, we'd like to extend our sincere thanks to Michelle Waring and her team at Toms of Maine for sponsoring our fellowship, and to our UNH advisors, Alexis and Monisha, along with our advisory group for their guidance throughout the summer. We've also incredibly grateful to the entire team at TCI, especially the executive director, Leah Lowry, for her support, and our mentor, Alexa Sabatini, whose guidance, encouragement, and trust made this project possible. They say it takes a team, and Jordan and I were fortunate to be part of such an exceptional one. Thank you.
Thanks.